Well, Aaron Dorsey, thank you for being here today. We're here to have another OCIA testimonial. We're excited to hear a little bit more about your overall story of how you got to OCIA, how you got to the Catholic Church, and also what your experience was like with OCIA so that you can pass that on and share that with other people, with the community, and hopefully those coming into OCIA here soon. So I think first and foremost, it's just important to start with what brought you to St. Mary's and like the Catholic Church as a whole.
So I married my husband a couple of years ago, and he was like raised Catholic, baptized from pretty much birth. So he was always kind of like introducing me slowly to it, like mentioning faith. And obviously, I grew up in England, so like faith isn't, it's not really the same as it is over here. So it's very Church of England, and that's kind of really all I was ever introduced to. But it's not very strong. So we were talking about faith, and he's Catholic, and he was like, obviously we got married and we know we want to have kids and different things. So we've had conversations, and then the more I looked into the Catholic faith, I was like, this is something I could explore. I always knew I believed in something. Like I knew I believed in the stories I'd been told about like Jesus and everything like that, but I'd never really dove deep into it. So we were looking for like a good program to become Catholic, and we found the OCA at St. Mary's, and yeah, that's how it
The
came
rest is
about.
history
Yeah.
from there. Yeah. So were you there for the search at all
Yeah, I
at the
did,
beginning?
I think 5 weeks of the search.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it was really good. I'd never seen like videos like that before. It wasn't something I was super familiar with. It was a good starting point
Mhm.
to be like, okay, like this is a brief touch on like what we're going to talk about, and like just a good introduction.
Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure I clarify what the search is for anybody who's listening. So the search was a 7-part video series
Yeah.
that kind of just was a good inquiry phase for somebody who was just beginning to learn a little bit more about the Catholic faith. And
Yeah.
Andrew, in a different episode, he talks a little bit more about it, but it's just a good way to get the community talking to each other and
Yeah.
get those who are inquiring a little bit more information.
Yeah.
So as OCIA started up right after that, what do you think were some of your biggest takeaways from the class?
There's like several different like avenues I could answer this. So in terms of it helped me to truly understand what I believed and why I believed it, and it kind of gave you an explanation of why things are the way they are, like when we talk about like why we do certain things in a mass, and everything was brought as like a whole, because I was kind of before just like, oh yeah, I believe, but this helped me to understand like who and what and why I believe in what I felt like I believed in.
Mm-hmm.
It also brought me like a good community. It brought me like friends, people who believe in the same things I believe in. And it just OCIA gave me like a bigger platform to grow in my faith
Mm-hmm.
with other people alongside me following the same journey. OCIA gave me a lot.
Yeah. Was there any obstacles that you experienced going through OCA? Maybe obstacles that, in general, maybe big questions that you had or wrestled with? Um, yeah. Answer that as you may.
Obstacle. So I would say it was just, I didn't realize the depth of how intricate, and I didn't realize that Catholicism was the original church that Jesus founded.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like unaware that all these different denominations weren't just the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd never really picked apart different denominations. So like learning that the Catholic Church is like the one true church was like something that was like brand new to me. Obstacle wise, I think was just wrapping my head around everything. I didn't know it was so intricate, and the more I learned, the more there was to love.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was very like set out well. I was able to follow along, and I feel like sometimes maybe we had different levels of faith there. So we had some people that were just being confirmed, and they'd maybe been raised in a religion their whole life and knew a lot more than others. So sometimes I dealt with the obstacle of, oh, I didn't know that. I don't know this, and feeling a little bit inferior to others. But then by the end of the class, you don't feel inferior because you're like, oh, now I know that too.
Yeah. It's such an interesting thing to run into when we have like, I mean, there's people in the class who had been Catholic for like many years, or like
Yeah.
who had gone through catechesis before, and
Yeah.
they knew a lot of this stuff, and so it's like hard to meet the demands of everybody. And you were baptized back at the Easter Vigil,
Yeah.
and so that was a huge moment for you. What was that experience like? Even reflecting on your own baptism at the Easter Vigil.
Like when I think about it, I still feel emotional. It was like something that, like, obviously you have one baptism, and it was just something that like I will truly never forget. And it's bittersweet because I wish I could just relive it and relive like the feeling of it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what makes it so special, that it's one baptism. And it felt freeing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm 27 and I was never baptized, so I was never freed from that original sin. Like, and you're living with that, and you don't realize when you're not involved in your faith that you're living with that.
Wow.
And then when I was baptized, I was like, I just feel like lighter. I feel fresh. It was inside. I just felt like really emotional, like I'd been saved. Like you feel that feeling.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, being baptized when I was like probably 5 months
Yeah.
old. I think it's something all Catholics kind of take for granted, but it's amazing that like yeah, I'm very thankful I got to experience it when I was five
Yeah.
months old, but like now that you get to remember the moment of like you being an adopted daughter of God is
Yeah.
such a phenomenal thing. So I mean, that's been like probably 5 weeks now. I think we're in the fifth week
Yeah, I think so.
of Easter. So what is it now that you're most excited for in OCIA? Or sorry, not in OCIA, but just as being Catholic.
Yeah, so obviously after I was baptized, my husband and I have been married civilly for a couple of years, and I never knew of like all the different sacraments and how important they were.
Mm-hmm.
And learning more about the sacraments in OCA, I was like, okay, I need my marriage blessed in the Catholic Church. So that's something we did immediately after the Easter Vigil at midnight. I think
Yeah,
you were
I was
there.
there, yeah.
Yeah. So we did that, and then a week ago I did my first confession, and again it was that freeing feeling, like the sacraments, you realize that they have such a deep purpose, and they're not just like things that you do for no reason. Like they all have a purpose and a feeling, and they're all meant for something deep.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was excited about my first confession, and I was really nervous, and I did it, and it was such a good feeling. And now it's just like continuing to grow in my faith, learn more. I started Father Mike Schmidt's Bible in a year,
Nice.
just to
Yeah, what's that been like?
really good.
Yeah?
Like, yeah, he's amazing, obviously, at what he does. And I didn't know a lot of the stories, and going from Genesis and then it's all the way to Revelation. So it's going to be informative. I'm still in Genesis right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really interesting.
Wow. I have two stories about you that I thought were just, and this kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, like witnessing you guys say your vows after the Vigil Mass. And I remember, like, this was a long day. Like, the Vigil is long for everybody. It's long for you guys. Like, you're in preparation, and you have the rehearsal on top of that to be baptized and all that. And it's not a short rehearsal by any means. I mean, it's not long, but it's a long enough day for you to think about all
Yeah.
these things. And you, this is like, as a baptized Catholic, you witnessed 19 baptisms, and you witnessed probably 20 some confirmations that night, and maybe 20 people who received their first Holy Communion. And then on top of that, so that's like what, four sacraments or three sacraments right there
Yeah.
as a whole. And then just to like see you guys say your vows, like that's a fourth sacrament right there. I was like,
Yeah.
for me, I was like, holy cow! I'm like, this is amazing. If I would have gone to confession that morning, I could have made it 5. And so that was just one cool story. And then another one was when we were doing breaking open the Word. I remember it was, I think, the Feast of Christ the King, and specifically like going into it, I was excited for Erin Dorsey being there for one specific reason, is because you were from England. And I was like, there's going to be a couple different people here, but I'm like going to really lean into like asking Erin her experience.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is it was just me and you.
Yeah.
And I was able to ask you questions, and you were able to relate like your own experience with like actually being able to know what it's like to have a king,
Yeah.
and just like giving your own experience with like Jesus as king, which is
Yeah.
really, really awesome. So I kind of asked this at the last video. Is there like anything else that you think is important about your story that you like to share or cover at all?
I feel like once you fully dive in and step in, I think it's something that people can be reluctant about. Like, it's a big commitment. Like when I was looking into OCIA, it's like, ooh, that's a long time. You know, I feel like as a kid, it's like, okay, your baptism's tomorrow, and here's your. It's not as planned out as it is for an adult. So I understand it's a big step, but I definitely would recommend to just throw yourself in and be willing and open, because I feel like if you are, you'll feel it in your heart that like this is truly what I was made for.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you throw yourself in and involve yourself, now I'm like, I emailed Father and I was like, I want more ways to serve God now, like especially with OCAA coming to an end. Like I want to dedicate more of my time to this. Like it becomes such a big part of you, and I do think it changes you as a person for like the best.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, thank you for that call to action. I appreciate it, and it's really interesting hearing like your thoughts going into this, thinking, oh, this is kind of a long year,
Yeah.
up until just what, a couple minutes before we were starting to record. You said, I'm really bummed that we have to cancel the last OCIA, and this is actually going after you've been confirmed and baptized. And
Yeah.
so uh, I hope that is a good testament to OCIA, and I appreciate you being able to share your story today. And like I said, that call to action is really important. So thank you so much for your time today, Erin. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.